How's it going, Starseekers? My name's Gotcake and welcome to this review of Frontline Zed, a zombie survival game where you battle your way through waves of undead alongside another player or NPC allies as you attempt to work your way across country in search of a safe haven, scavenging for supplies during the day and defending the barricades against the zombie hordes at night. So beginning at the main menu and checking out the options, we have the usual language, audio and control sensitivity settings, as well as some customization options to change the colour and shape of each player's aiming reticle. Heading back to begin a new game, we have two modes, New Game and New Game Plus, each of which can be played with one or two players, and after selecting a mode you can then select between normal or hard difficulties. So as we begin the game we get this notepad, which is used throughout the game to provide us with storyline updates. In this first stage it also shows us the game's controls via a handy diagram. So Frontline Zed's gameplay is split into two phases. First we have the defence phase, which begins with our first night in the middle of some woods, armed only with a small 6-round pistol. Positioned safely behind a makeshift barrier which allows us limited movement, we take aim at the incoming undead by moving our reticle with the left thumbstick. Frontline Zed is yet another action game which has been ported from Steam to Switch and has retained its mouse cursor style aiming, which yet again is just a load of shite and suffers from the same slow targeting issues. Now I want to address something right away with Frontline Zed, and that is its visuals. Firstly, I'll say they look dated, there's no denying that, but when comparing the in-game visuals to the eShop screenshot counterparts, we find a much darker, grittier looking game compared with the lighter, smoother looking ones on the eShop. It also appears that some of the lighting and shadow effects have been removed in-game, and there's no sign of the player crosshair on the eShop screenshots. I also want to take a moment to highlight the eShop description bollocks about a dismemberment system, as the only dismemberment you get is with headshots, and even then the zombies' heads just pop out of existence. So getting back to the game, we blast our way through zombies as they attempt to assault our barrier. In the bottom left corner a green bar represents the durability of the barrier, and this is reduced as zombies attack it, and once destroyed zombies will instantly kill us if they touch us, though it is possible to survive the rest of the way with some sharp shooting. After we kill the last zombie the defense phase ends, and next begins the scavenge phase. Here we get 8 hours to spend on either repairing our barrier for 10 durability per hour spent, or scavenging for supplies from various buildings, with each building requiring a specific number of hours to search. Although searching gives the impression of player choice with recovered loot being random, it actually appears to be predefined. I searched 2 different sets of buildings on the same scavenge phase and the result was the same, so take that as you will. Now there are a number of different things you can find when scavenging. Firstly, there are weapons which become more powerful the further into the game you get. These range from various types of pistols and shotguns to submachine guns and assault rifles, and although there's generally a trade-off between rate of fire and weapon damage, most weapons took multiple hits to kill zombies, and even the shotgun at point blank range often took 2 shots to take down a single zombie. The next type of items we can salvage are grenades and barrels. Grenades can be thrown into groups of enemies, though the blast radius is a bit random sometimes, whilst barrels on the other hand are placed in random locations in levels, and you can place multiple barrels at once. To blow up barrels you need to shoot them multiple times, and any unused barrels get returned to you at the end of a stage. Finally, we can find survivors, who will join our team and fight alongside us, and so far as I can tell you can have up to 3 survivors at one time. Now weapons we find get placed onto these weapon boards, and we get to equip ourselves with 2 weapons and can switch between them during defense phases. We also get to equip survivors with a single weapon, but it really doesn't matter as they're next to useless and their AI is absolutely horrendous. Regardless of the weapon that you give them, they do a lot less damage with it and fire at a snail's pace. To give you an example, here's me firing off a whole clip into zombies with an Uzi. And here's the survivor firing 2 rounds every 5 seconds. Survivors also don't prioritise targets, like here they start shooting at a zombie across the screen when there's one just smashing a barrier right beside them. In fact, the only time they become any help is near the end of the game, when you're able to equip 3 of them with shotguns. Oh, and if the zombies manage to break through the barriers, your survivors will just shit themselves and run off, leaving you to fight on your own until you manage to find some new survivors. So after you're done scavenging and have equipped yourself and any survivors with weapons, it's time once again to head back out into the defence phase for round 2. Your barrier retains whatever durability was left after the first defence phase, plus any repairs, and you basically just fight back another wave of zombies in the same area as the first defence phase. Throughout the game, you actually really only encounter 2 types of zombies. There are standard zombies who occasionally run instead of walking, which becomes more frequent later in the game, and then you have zombies with body armour on which your rounds will ricochet off, so you need to aim at the heads. And that's it. No special zombie types, just those 2, which I suppose is more realistic but not very interesting. So following your completion of the second defence phase, you have another scavenge phase where you get to search more buildings, and then it's back for a third and final defence phase, which is just more of the same. After completing this third defence phase, you're then taken to the map screen where you move on to the next location, and occasionally you get to select between 2 locations, though which one you pick really doesn't matter. In your next location, you begin with a scavenge phase, and then repeat the same defence scavenge cycle, before heading back to the map to move on to the next location and do it all over again. Now admittedly, each location you visit has its own visuals, and the direction in which you're shooting differs from location to location, but generally, it's an incredibly repetitive gameplay loop throughout the whole game. After completing the game, you can try out New Game Plus, which isn't actually a continuation of your previous game, and in fact begins a completely new separate game. Here we find pretty much the same story, though zombies appear in larger numbers, and right off the bat you get the armoured zombies, but scavenge phases in New Game Plus also yield better equipment earlier to compensate for this. Now I've already covered the game's visuals, so I won't hammer on about them anymore, but when it comes to the game's audio it's not great either. Though gun sound effects are okay, they frequently cut out, going silent halfway through a clip. And some sound effects get stuck in a repeating loop, like this exploding barrel sound effect that played over and over. The game's music tracks are also pretty shy, and are literally 5-second loops. So now let's get on to rating the game. Now I rate games between 1 and 5 stars, with a shovelware stamp of approval reserved for the worst games on the eShop. This rating is based on my own personal opinion on what a game has to offer in terms of gameplay and value for money to potential buyers. And for a rating I'd give Frontline Zed 1 out of 5 stars. The visuals aren't great, the audio is poor, gameplay is repetitive, and Survivor AI is terrible. Now although I'm sure a few people may enjoy its simplicity or playing through its 2-hour campaign with a friend, I really don't think it's worth the asking price, and I recommend waiting for a sale. You can get Frontline Zed from the UK Switch eShop, currently with 10% off, for £9.71, or on the US eShop for $10.79. Alternatively, the game's also available on Steam. Hey Starseekers, if this review of Frontline Zed helped you out, show your appreciation by hitting that like button, and drop your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. As always, consider subscribing for future Switch indie game reviews, and feel free to join the growing Starseekers Discord community. For now though, I just want to say thanks once again for watching, and until next time, game on.